Hello, how you doing?
Hey, Grayson, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Been working on the bees today. Not much happening here. Just going. It's getting warmer here. We've got some okay weather, 60 to highs, 40 lows. So it's been doing good down here. I put on some feed, backup food.
What
That's
kind of
what
feed are you using?
I've been using some sugar, and then I've been starting to experience with the candy boards, like making my own candy boards and stuff like that. That's what we've been doing lately around here, getting everything set up, getting everything prepared. We already went for like a week or maybe a week and a half through of some cold weather. We had 32s lows, highs 55, 60s, or at least for us in Alabama. But we've been just feeding. We haven't been able to do really anything like any inspections. It's just too cold.
Oh yeah.
We've just been wrapping up everything. Everything's about wrapped up. So that's what we've been doing lately around here. Just then been doing the videos and streams throughout the whole winter. So we got been doing some good stuff lately. How about you? How are your bees doing today?
I actually walked out to the apiary today. It hit 50 today, which has been the warmest day we've had in the last week. And there were a few girls out flying.
Or
I've got fondant on them now, so hopefully if they need it, it's there. But yeah, they're. I still need to put insulation on the top. But other than that, they're pretty much down for the winter.
That's right. They've been flying around here. They've been flying everywhere, mostly around the whole U.S. I saw Hillbilly Earl's video, his live stream. His bees are flying. Our bees are flying. You know, most parts of the U.S. Bees are starting to fly a little bit because of the warmer temperatures. But that's why I'm trying to feed. Because whenever you get too much cold, like down here we get flimsy weather. We go up and down throughout the whole course. It's like a roller coaster winter. You have like up and downs, and especially down in the southern Alabama where we are at. We have up and down winters. We'll have one day we'll have 55-degree weather. You know, one day we'll have 60-degree weather. One day we'll go back down to 55. One day we'll maybe go up to 65. Then we'll go back down to 40, the highs 45s. It's just like a roller coaster winter for us. It's just like real flimsy. You
So
can
your bees never really do cluster for the winter, do they?
they do cluster. They will cluster, but they like to fly a lot. We got like especially like in the day where it's 55, 60. I mean, they're gonna start flying, and then they're just gonna eat all of our food and starve if they don't get any fed. So that's why I've been on top of trying. I've been going out there every few days checking on their food. Are they moving up to their super? Are they still down in the deeps? Because I'm running two. I have a few colonies that are running two deeps. One colony that's running a deep and a super, and the others are just running just single deeps. So I've been trying to kind of monitor them, see how they're gonna go through the whole winter. I've been making sure they have enough food on. I've already treated for mites. I've kind of been checklisting everything I've done. I've done mite treatments. I've done the been feeding. Never than that, I have to continue my feeding throughout the whole winter. And then once I get back out of spring, you know, split will have to, they're gonna start to swarm reproduction around, spring. I don't know, like March. Usually it's different times for people. Some people like down here in Alabama, they're gonna start swarming because pretty soon. But it just really depends where you live and everything. And
Yeah, your bees are. You take care of your bees much different than I would mine. The best thing could happen to us is a long, hard, cold winter.
that's right.
That doesn't happen very often, but that would be ideal.
That's right. You know, because you kind of would rather you going into like a steady winter where you have high 50s where they'll stay in their winter cluster. If they keep on breaking cluster, going back into cluster at night, breaking cluster, all you can have is during the day they're gonna fly. What are they gonna do when they fly? They're gonna burn their food, and then once they burn their food, they're gonna eat more of their honey. It's just gonna continue until that day where they don't have no more food, and then if you don't keep on top of feeding them, they're gonna starve out. So I've been real monitoring the especially for us down here because like I was talking about, we have real flexibility. On winters, we go up and down a lot of times down here. So we were talking about that to Bruce, on our last a few weeks ago. We're talking about how down here in Alabama it can get real flimsy. You can have different degree days. You know, but that's just for us. Different people are going to have different temperatures. According to their region or whatever.
Hey,
So
DC, is that all six of your bees or all six of your hives?
I don't know if how many colonies do you have, Tim?
I'm down to four.
Four.
I have compressed them down to four really heavy duty hives
Okay,
for winter.
that's good. All right, now I'm running like six. Two of them, some of them are smaller. They're smaller cluster, and still been feeding them. But then I have all the other colonies. As I said, some beekeepers will ask whenever I was starting out a long time, like a year ago or something, I was wondering what should I run my bees in. Should I run them in two deep? Should I run them in one deep and one super? Should I run them in just one deep? Or that's one common question you're gonna hear a lot. Like, what should you run, or what do you run?
Well, I
Not
hate the misconception when you hear people say you have to have overwinter in two deeps,
right.
and you have to do this, and you have to. That's not true. People overwinter in single deeps all the time. They overwinter nukes all the time. If done properly, it can be done. The key is to be if it's done properly.
That's right. I was just about to say, you know, if somebody came up to me telling me what should I use, I'd tell them, it's really some of it. Half of it is really I can't really tell you what would work real best for you. You're gonna have to you know the bees will go good in deep in a super. Bees will go good in two deeps. Bees will go good in a nuke. Bees can go in a single deep. Either way, as long as you're feeding them, took care of the mites, they have a good chance going into winter. If not done properly, and if you don't know what you're doing, that can lead to the colony dying out. So half of it's um, it's your decision what to do, but then half of it is really it really doesn't matter. Really, I mean it does matter, but at the same time it doesn't matter. Like you don't want to put them in. You don't want to have a colony that has just one frame of bees, and also you don't want It's really whenever I tell beekeepers that it's really your opinion, or if you really want my judgment, it really also sometimes can depend where you live. If it gets like below freezing, even below freezing, people up in the north have been able to overwinter deeps. I've watched people on YouTube. They have single deeps, they have double deeps, they have a deep with a super. And no different. So it's just that's a big question starter beekeepers will ask. I asked it once myself, and now I'm like, what do I, what's my, goal for the colony? Do I want to, just have one deep going to winter? Like, if you want to have just a, honey season, you could, just do one deep, and then just do all your supers, and if you get 5 supers on your colony, take 3 off, leave the other 2, and or if you just want them to have 2 deeps and a super, you can do that as well. There's just really, there's really, there's no, I can't really, say, I never really like say you have to go with this, you have to go with that. I usually say it really doesn't matter. Your bees will do fine in 5 frames, they'll do fine in 10 frames, they'll do good in 2 deeps. And that's just my opinion on it. Other beekeepers, you might hear on the internet says, you have to do double deeps to like get your colonies through winter. That's the only way. But that's not really the only way you can overwinter your colony. There's different strategies. So that's just my judgment on it.
Oh, absolutely. Bees are pretty flexible. I mean, you can definitely do your bees in, but if done properly, there's a lot of ways to overwinter bees.
There's there's a lot of different ways. You can do them in 10, like I said. One deep, 2 deeps, one deep. 5 frames. I know a guy in Georgia, Barnyard Beats. If you know him, Vincent, my brother said that he runs 5 frames in the winter. He gets them through winter. So there's different ways to do it. It's your judgment a little bit, and that's just my opinion. But that's just one most asked question. I've never been asked that question, but I just know like bigger beekeepers will experience those questions from beginner beekeepers and stuff like that.
Yeah, Lee, you run singles, but you live in the bayou, don't you?
And everybody's gonna do it different. Sometimes single brew deeps. Some beekeepers will use 2 deeps. It's just different.
I have heard a gentleman last year at Hive Life conference was saying that he has much better success overwintering in single deeps, much
Like,
higher survival rates in single deeps. And I had intended to do that this year, and I just didn't get the hives. I merged too many hives, and they just would not fit in single deeps. So
I don't know.
I'm all double deeps.
That's right, because I had a colony that I had 2 deeps. One deep in the bottom was had some stuff in it, and the top deep was just like full of honey, like 60 pounds of honey above of them. And I was like, I don't know, there's just not enough bees to fill up this. I might have to take that one top deep off and put some of the honey frames with the colonies. But it got I wasn't able to get to it. I've been real busy with different things, beekeeping, and I just never got around to it. And then this cold weather, came in, so I'm just gonna have to, see how it goes. There, it's just I'm gonna have to wait and see later on. Let's see. Daisy says double deeps easy for walkaway splits.
This is true.
It's true. There's another one up here that also Daisy said that location is important. That's another important thing about it. you know, wherever you are, you can do whatever what you want. I know some beekeepers in the north will, kind of go on, 2 deeps. Down here where I'm located, I run, I have a few of every. I don't have any, nukes. I just run some single deeps, and have 2 deep, and then I have one with just a deep and a super. So there's like many methods you can use. You know,
Yeah, I had wanted to try to overwinter a nuke this year, and I had one prepared just for that. But one of my larger hives, I'd lost my queen
mm,
uh, in late September. It's too late to get a queen, so I
sure.
merged it with that hive.
I get you. Some that's sometimes good to have backup queens. You
Yeah.
know, Bulbous. Talking about that once. You can have the backup queen and the nuke, and then if one of your bigger colonies fail with the queen, just drop the frames with the queen in it. Or you can do the paper enrollment, as I saw in your video you did. Merging the colonies together. Some beekeepers like I don't know if they're gonna really do good together. Bees will you can merge them together fine. I heard a beekeeper Bob Benny say this, that if like have a normal colony, and then you get some package with bees, shake them in there and spray some sugar water in there. It's basically they're licking each other and everything. It's just beekeepers have different methods, and
I actually, yes, I did do a paper merge or two this year, but I also did at least 3 merges, just basically put the bees together.
that's right. We
Just,
can do that as
and
well.
they just find. I mean, we're talking. I'm putting the queen in there, everything, and the hives thrived.
That's right. You can do that as well. Just different. There's millions of different methods.
Yeah, I don't like when people say you can't do certain things.
That's right. I never tell anybody on my videos like you have to go with this, you have to go with that. Like had a recent video. Like solid bottom board. What's the difference between a solid bottom board and a string bottom board? And I just explained some of the differences. Like string bottom board. Some beekeepers use that for mite testing, but it's not going to be as accurate as your mite wash. And beekeepers in the summer will use it as ventilation, you know, and then you're gonna hear then the bottom boards, the solid bottom board, the only difference with that is just it's like solid, it doesn't have a screen. I just said go with what's known, you know, do a solid bottom board, a screen bottom board will be fine. Some beekeepers will think like whenever you have the screen bottom board, like that if you leave that open, the back of it open, breeze of winds can come in. I've heard this one method, I can share. You just put like a little cardboard piece in on the bottom, tie a little string to it. Leave an inch edge on each to give some ventilation on a string bottom board. If you're worried that the cold breezy days is or it's gonna come up and kill the bees or something, you can do that as well. I just heard that method. Put like a little piece of cardboard in there, tie a little string, push it in there, leave an inch gap on each side. And then some beekeepers will ask, what's the string for? If it's strength for, I haven't tried this. I was gonna try it, but I'm gonna sometime try it. The strength for like whenever you go into spring, you can just pull out the cardboard instead of trying to break open the colony and taking it all apart, trying to get that cardboard
Well,
out.
up here, that would come in handy. I've not done it, but I have seen it. That come in handy in the middle of winter to help clean out the hive
That too.
because you have dead bees in there that'll pile up
That's right.
inside there. So a method like that would be good to help clean out the dead bees. You just pull that cardboard, that string, and you've got all your dead bees. You empty it, throw the cardboard back in.
That's right. That can that's another thing. I'm glad you brought that up. That you can that helps. During the winter, bees are gonna die sometimes. You're gonna have all their trash, all their stuff on the bottom of the bottom board. It's gonna all pile up, and then you can just take that. If you have that cardboard in there, all you gotta do is just pull it out, dump it. If you want to, put it back in. It's, as simple as that with that string on there. Instead of having to just put it in there without a string, and in the spring break open your colony, going for each thing. It'd be easy with just one deep, but if you have two deeps and super on there, it's it's gonna be a lot of work. It just depends how much you have on there. If you have one single deep, you could just easily lift the box up and place the cardboard on there. Just depends what you have on the colony. If you don't really want to do that, you can just put in the cardboard, especially during the winter. If you want to open it and take that little piece of cardboard out because it's piling up during the winter, you can just pull it out. Don't disturb the colony at all. Push it back in. That's that comes in handy, especially in the winter.
Hey, if I can answer Bob's question from earlier.
Let's see.
Yes, Bob, I've been sick all weekend long. In fact, today I almost canceled on Grayson here. I took a lot of Robitussin and Dayquil, and here I am.
I'm glad you could come on. It's not gonna be too long. Let's see. Daisy says I use Hive reduces reducers, I guess, and can't remove easily. I have upper entrances. Let's see. For sure. Carl said up here that he runs double deeps, combo division boards, and fry frame nukes. I think Carl's. I don't know where Carl's at. I think he's in Georgia. Is that right? Um, there's just different methods you can use and many like
Yeah, I use the screen boards myself.
screen boards.
I don't do any upper ventilation at all. No upper entrances, no upper ventilation. My bees do just fine, but I do heavily insulate the feeder shim
That's right.
on my hives to get that top of the hive warm. It reduces condensation at the top of the hive, so the condensation, in theory, goes to the sides of the hives. And I do have temperature gauges, humidity gauges inside my hives, and so I can monitor it all winter long. So I know what kind of fluctuation I have. If the humidity were to get really high, I would know to react
That's
to
right.
something. But it stays fairly steady.
That's right. I've been my favorite colony. If anybody watches my videos, the one with the deep and the blue seeper, I've been kind of monitoring it as well. I don't put any moisture readings or anything like that. I've just been like monitoring them since the start of our in the start of our winter, or not just the cold weather that we've been getting. I monitored them from day one of that. They first I have a video coming out that I kind of show it, but like the bees are first in the center of the colony. The clusters always gonna start in the bottom, and then work their way. And they move to the right. If you stand in front of the colony, they move to the right. All clusters are gonna do that. They're gonna move. They're gonna eat everything that first deep, and then what they're gonna do is they're gonna go up to your super or double the other deep that you have, eat that honey. After that, that's where the food comes in handy. If they're still in winter, they're not gonna have anything. They're just gonna be burying their heads in the honey cells looking for honey, but they're actually all out. That's why some feeding will do you well for a backup source insurance plan.
It depends on the winter. I had a couple hives last year. Spent the entire winter in the upper box.
That's right.
It evidently was cold enough that they were in a state of stupor. They were in their cluster most of the winter. So, but they spent because not only do I have the sensors, but I also have the flare attachment for my camera,
That's right.
so I can take a look at the bees. But yeah, I had a couple hives that, like I say, they spent the entire winter and they never went down to the lower box at all.
That's right. Lee says it's not too cold for them to break cluster and move. That's right. Down here, it's, like I said, it's been real fluctuating. It can be, especially in the south, and where we're located in Alabama. You can have different degree days. You can have one day, like I said, 60. Next few days will be 60. We'll go back down to 50. It's just real different in the whole U.S. I'm just speaking for my our location. That's what me and Bruce were talking about a few weeks ago, as I mentioned, on that kind of fluctuability.
Yeah, it's some nice weather down there. I spent a year and a half down to Gunner Air Force Base as a contractor, which is, for those that don't know, it's Montgomery, Alabama.
That's right.
Which I believe is real near where you're at.
Yep. That's cool. It's the good thing about it is it doesn't get it usually doesn't get anywhere under 20, but it can, that's the thing we're talking about. It really depends. If it can get 20. Sometimes it can get into teens down here, but we really usually only see the 30s, 27s, 28s, 25 the lows, maybe even 24. Well, that's just really what we really see down here in our location. And our highs we see anywhere from really 40, 50, and 60 throughout the whole winter. 65, you know. That's what we experience down
Yeah.
here.
What I want to what Lee was talking about, them starving inside the uh, can you pop that there? Yeah, that right there. They can starve with plenty of honey in the hive. A lot of people don't understand that. There can be plenty of honey still in a hive,
Right.
and they can starve out. I know up north here, what happens is you'll get a day or two of warm weather, and the bees will break cluster, and they'll start moving around the hive. They'll start flying around the hive, eating and flying and so forth. And then the weather will, boom,
That's right.
it'll fall off real fast. And the bees, it's warm enough for them to fly, but it's still chilly. The bees move much, much slower when it's cold, and they do not get back to cluster. And that's what happens is these bees do not get back to cluster, and they die, and there's food right there next to them. And so it looks like they're starving to death right next to the food. And that's what's happening quite often is the bees just don't get back to cluster. And that happens quite often when people put way too many boxes in the wintertime on the hives. They've got a small hive that easily will fit into a single, should be a single. And they pack 3 or 4 supers on there because they want plenty of honey for the wintertime. Well, the problem is on days like that, the bees will scatter, temperature drops all of a sudden, and they
Yeah,
don't make it.
that's right. Good point right there. You're never gonna, but sometimes whenever I see it, whenever it gets warmer, I see bees up, just all scattered in the supers, and then they're not, if it gets too cold, what's gonna happen is, they're not gonna be able to get down. As he said, they're just gonna, die. That's just the thing about it, stacking too much supers. So like, just give them, what they, what you think they really need. One super, if the bees will fit in it, you know,
Yeah.
if the bees, can't fit in it, if you have one that can just be in a two deeps or a deep, and then you stack 5 supers, 4 supers on it, and then like you said, they're like, oh, the bees, want this much honey, like you said, they're gonna scatter, and it's gonna get cold, they're gonna die. So that's real true.
Yeah, they can only keep a certain area warm.
That's right.
Bees can only keep just a small,
Portion.
small area within that hive warm enough to survive.
That's right. They're the cluster. They're clustering together, making heat. They're not they don't have heaters. They're not like us where we have heat all across our house. Heat stays in. It's not really like that. They're gonna heat each other up. They're just gonna heat some of the. They'll have a little excess heat on the outsides, but they're not gonna have much. They're
I
just
always thought it was funny on Facebook last year. All these people in the middle of winter were opening their hives because all my bees are dead. All my bees are dead. Bees go in a state of torpor, and they're not. It's not hibernating, but their move. I like to say it's an extreme slow
oh,
motion.
that's right.
It's not really hibernation. And then what they do is they open that hive at 30 degrees, and then they take them inside. And guess what? They come alive. Surprise, surprise. Well, now you've just killed your hive because you opened it at 30 degrees, and the
Right.
queen and everybody else has been scattered. Leave your hive closed for the winter. Just
Right.
leave it closed. If you've closed it up for the winter, leave it closed and do not open it until spring hits.
That's
It
right.
doesn't matter whether they're alive or dead. There's nothing you can do about it. Just leave the hive alone. And if you're fairly certain they're dead, at least close up the hive so the mice can't get in.
That's right.
But leave the bees alone because time and time and time again, people are saying I took my bees inside and they came alive and flying around the house. Well, yeah, they weren't dead.
Right. That's one thing that that's gonna happen. The bees are gonna move slow, or it's not hibernation. It's just, like you said, it's just real slow motion that they're moving in. Beekeepers and think, oh, my bees are dead. I better, take them out and dump them out or something. And once they dump them out, all the bees are going to come back alive, and then you lost your colony. So that's one thing that can really happen. You can go in there like you're gonna be like over dead. Might as well clean them out for next year. And then once you clean them out, they start coming alive. I'm like, oh no, I made a mistake. I better I don't know what I'm gonna do. And then it's they're probably gonna die because it's low temperatures and that kind of thing.
Now I see here Dirt Rooster. He makes that kind of mistake. I'm surprised he would, but I'm talking about a newbie, someone that's only been doing this the first year,
right.
or someone that really, really doesn't know. They just can't stand not being in their bees, and it is hard. Wintertime, it is hard for me not to go out and get in and look at my bees.
Right.
Sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, that's right. It can happen. You want to get in the bees, make sure they're alive, So it's better just to, keep them alive and everything. And all that too. So
yeah, I miss the summertime. Wintertime is difficult because you really do want to be in the bees all the time.
That's right. Carl said I had a triple deep going into winter in 2021 triple. Well, I split it this in spring, used the top box to put a March swarm in, bought more boxes, frames when I caught second swarm 2 weeks later, same spot.
Where are you at, Carl?
I think he said he was in Georgia.
Georgia, okay. Okay, I was going to say March. Okay, that would make sense.
I'm not for certain on that. He's going to have to tell us, Georgia, somewhere around there, where, he's located.
3 deep. Well, that's a lot of bees.
I know. Make sure I didn't miss any comments up here.
Yeah, it's hard to catch them all, isn't it?
That's right. Ian said that there's going to be 50 degrees up here on Friday. Gonna get my shorts out.
I bet you are. Speedo time there.
It's gonna be. I don't know what to. I know Thursday's gonna be pretty warm. 65 degrees. 55. I think it was like 65. I think it was the high 63 for Thursday. Thanksgiving. So it's gonna be pretty warm. So it's not gonna be warm as the spring. I don't think, but it's gonna be warm enough you can go outside and it's not gonna be too bad on you. Yeah,
I think we're looking at 59 on Thursday.
Probably something right there. Probably not too far off. But because you're in Ohio, is that correct? In Ohio.
Yeah, that'll be the first day that we're above freezing at night too. 44 at night. A warm night.
That's right. Let's see. You're right. Definitely. We've been talking about winter prep lately, and everybody's been kind of talking about that on, the whole streams, throughout the whole thing. Like winter, what are we gonna do? So, I'm just gonna ask you, what do you feed your bees during winter? What's your preferred, methods for, eating and feeding your bees?
I've got Hive Life Fondant. Is what I'm using right now.
Thank you.
I do have sugar patties on half my hives, but I'm getting ready to switch those out to fondant as well. They're really not eating right now. This cold weather we've had, I think have been clustering, so
that's right.
Which is good. That's what they're supposed to be doing. But I'll be putting the Hive Life fondant on the other two, the remaining hives. Probably later this week. We've got some warm temperatures here. Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, probably Wednesday. I'll probably do that.
That's right. My feeding, I do everything kind of. I'm doing the sugar. I'm starting to feed some candy boards, above them. And I've just been, and I need to get some more palm patties. I was feeding some palm patties. This palm, like the 10-pound little circular bucket of winter patties. They last a little bit. For me, because I only have 6 colonies, you know, so they last. They're gonna last me probably the whole winter. If I don't use all of it up too much. So I just feed palm patties and I feed sugar. And I don't just give them sugar. And the sugar
And do
I
you use winter patties or pollen patties?
winter patties.
Okay. Okay.
The winter. I don't know what you really call them. I'll have to put it in the comments if you want to get a look at it. Um, but you can get it off Man Lake or a different beekeeping company. Um, that's where you can get the feed. The winter patties if you want to feed them. But I don't just feed the sugar bags or the sugar candy boards of just sugar. I put some sugar on the candy boards that I made the the sugar sugar candy board, and then I put some sugar in there, and then I get a scoop of protein powder that has like 20 grams of protein in it. Sprinkle it on the top of the sugar, and then put some water in there. You get 20 grams, maybe 25, 30 grams of protein from. So I don't just give them just sugar. I try to put a little protein in there with it. To help them with their heating up or winter clustering. Whenever they cluster, they're going to produce heat, which which it will lead to they're going to eat. So I've been doing different things for my winter strategies. I already did my mite treatments. It's another thing I was I know we're not into mite treating season, but I was wondering whenever you do treat your mites, what do you usually like to treat your mites with?
I use OAV,
OD.
oxalic acid. Yeah. Yeah. It's quick. It's simple. Yeah. It's easy to do. Um, I just was out there this past week, did it again. It should have been a knockout treatment. There should be no brood in any of the hives right now. And I'll do it one more time here in December. We'll get a warm day in the 50s, probably the 60s, sometime in December. And I'll hit them one more time. It can't hurt.
That's right.
It's fast.
That's right. This year I treated in the fall. I didn't treat in spring. I'm gonna start treating, in the spring and fall. I used to, be like a treatment free beekeeper, but now I'm kind of moving into like, treatment and using that kind of stuff. I was using some Apivar strips I had, to treat the, mites with, and everything that kind of results to the mites and the winter clustering is whenever, you have the mites in your colony, they're going to pass diseases, the viruses that the, varroa destructor mite has, it can shorten the lifespan of the winter bee of physiology. It can half the amount from 6 months to 4 to 3 months, which in turn won't really get you that far. It'll get you to December and January, but you still have February to get into. So treating for mites can really help your population stay strong throughout the whole winter.
This is the advantage of having a screen bottom board,
That too.
because in the wintertime, you can't really do a mite count because you can't really go in and grab a bunch of nurse bees and put them in alcohol or Dawn dishwash. You can't do that this time of year. But what you can do with the screen bottom board is after you treat, you can pull out that bottom tray and do a mite or a drop count.
That's right.
Afterwards, so you know how effective your treatment was.
That's
It's better to do the count properly, but this time of year, I'm not going to open my hives to do a count.
I'm not going to do that either. You don't really want to. That's just
No.
Just not really the idea you want to do. So it'd be better for the like you said you really rather do the wash, but you can't do that during this time of year. Get some nurse bees. They need all their nurse bees. They need all their bees. Help them get through the winter. You can't just open their colony if it's 30 degrees. Cold. Even on a warm day, you still don't really want to do that. You want to wait till spring. Do your spring washes and then do your fall washes, and after that, throughout the whole winter, you're usually done with mites. You can still do some OA treatments. As you said, do the screen bottom board. You can do that if you really want to see if your OA worked, or just do the OA and just hope it worked. But you want to probably do the screen bottom board method for that to be able to because you don't want to open your hive in winter.
No.
Just That's just the thing about it. I had a video recently that we can kind of get into for a second. I was talking about some wrong winter tips. Over beekeepers, there's a lot of things bad out there. People will tell you. They're going to tell you different things.
Mhm.
One of them was to manipulate your frames in the wintertime. Like think about it. If you have a super and you want to move the super closer to the cluster, if you open up that colony, and if the queen was, randomly walking on top of the frame or something, you might accidentally, smush the queen in the wintertime. That can, easily happen. Some beekeepers are like, oh, I bet the queen's, in the middle of the cluster, I don't really have to worry about it. But, it's good to keep in mind that, once you kill a queen in the wintertime, you can't really get in their queen.
I have seen the queen all over the place. People say the queen is always on the brood frames.
She
Not true. I've seen them on honey frames. I've seen them on pollen frames. The queen gets around.
she can, she can go everywhere. That's why I think, manipulating frames in the wintertime is not really a good idea. If you, try to take your super or some frames and try to take them more cluster to cluster, what can happen is what can happen. I'm not going to say it's gonna happen. I'm going to say it can happen, and to be aware of it. That if you manipulate your frames and then put the super closer to cluster and then accidentally smush the queen, you're not going to be able to get a new queen. You're not, the drones are not out. You can't buy a queen from nowhere. Nobody sells queens. Usually, you can't really find any queens in the wintertime. So if you kill the queen in the wintertime, it's usually game over in that time. You know, it's good to think of it like that way. If you kill a queen, it's kind of done. You're not gonna be able to get a new queen in the wintertime. You're never gonna lose population. In the wintertime, the queen usually slows down on her laying, but she will sometimes, continue to lay a little bit. So without the queen, you're not gonna be able to, you're not gonna be able to go forward with the colony. They're usually gonna, slowly go down in numbers, keep on going down in numbers until they die. So, it's good, you just don't really want to manipulate your frames in the wintertime. It's just not really, the good idea to do that either. As we were talking about earlier, you don't really want to open your colony, you know, but another even more important thing to do is not manipulate frames as well. Leave them, be, they'll find the honey, you know, but that's just, a video I recently published, of, 5 wrong runner tips. They're, you know, there's some good ones to, kind of keep in, consideration. They're not like, I have, different ones. One of them is, using the heating lamps and, heating pads. Many beekeepers will, you'll hear them say, "Oh, go ahead and put like a lamp over them. That will keep them warm." But the thing about that is, what's going to happen is it can interpret the wrong signal to the bees. The bees will accidentally think, "Oh, that warm air is, it's nice warm day. Let's go fly," but it's actually 30 degrees outside. They're gonna, go out into the winter breezy day. They're gonna, their wing muscles will freeze up, and then they'll, crash to the ground, and die. So that can,
Yeah, I'd seen someone last year. Was it last winter? They were asking about putting one of those chicken lamps
I know.
under their hives to keep them warm. It's like, oh no, please
That.
don't do that. Please don't do that.
And that's a very wrong tip that you can hear from some beekeepers. And if you, I would never recommend that at all. You can't, the bee, you're not gonna be able to go over there and put a heating pad or heating lamp on them and say, "Oh, that's gonna keep them warm." They're gonna think, "Oh, thank you." Well, they're actually gonna, think, and you're gonna use that signal as a wrong signal to. They're gonna think, "Oh, it's nice. Let's go out here and let's forage some, see if we can find anything." And once they go out, it's gonna be cold, and if it's cold, 30, 28 degrees, 40 degrees, they're gonna go out and their wing muscles will freeze, and they're not gonna be able to fly back to the colony once they crash to the ground. It's really over. So just that's one never wrong tip I mentioned, just not to use heating lamps or heating pads. It's just a wrong tip that you can really.
Daisy's correct. Bug Farmer does that, and he does do it successfully. However, I believe he's probably trial and error, and he's learned how to apply that heat to his bees. So he
Probably.
doesn't just randomly wrap his hives with a heating pad. He's got a really sophisticated setup.
Mm.
I don't know if you've looked at his channel. If you haven't, please do so. He's got a really sophisticated setup with those heated hives, and he doesn't heat all of his hives, just part of his hives. So it's kind of an experimental type thing. But I think he's done it for a few years now. It's not something I would do, but he does manage to do it successfully.
I have to check him out. Lisa said a bug farmer maintains a constant temp around 70 degrees. That's that's good. If you can do, if you have the skills to do so, if you have all the knowledge, if you've done it millions of times and had success with it, But if you're a brand new beekeeper, 5 years, maybe 2 years into it,
Correct.
that can lead to failure. But if you've been keeping bees for 20 years and you've been using this method for 10 years, I wouldn't try to get you out of that decision. But if you're thinking to yourself, oh, if you're a 2-year beekeeper thinking, oh, I saw this person on YouTube saying put a heating lamp on your pad, this will help them a lot. But then
Well, what's funny is people will do this down here where it gets down to, say, 30 degrees or 20 degrees or something like that, and they're worried about their bees. I mean, look at Ian. I mean, man, talking about harsh conditions, and his bees survive just fine without heat.
that's right.
I mean, I think he's got a large part of his inside of a building, but I don't believe he keeps all of them inside of a building. But there's a lot of I'll call them bee farmers that up north that have beehives, and they may wrap them and they may do other things with them, but they survive the cold. Bees are built for that. As long as you protect the bees, I think they're built for that.
That's right. Whenever you're talking about the buildings, that's another one thing that you may hear. I'm kind of summing to what I said on video. You can go back and see the exact words I put it in. I'm just, about sometimes beekeepers will, say, oh, you should put your hive in the building, put your hive in a barn that you have, a little shed. If you're a 2-year beekeeper, I don't know if you're really going to want to do that. But, I mentioned that commercial beekeepers, have, dedicated design buildings for the bees to go in. But if you put them in the shed with the doors closed, no way to get out, on a warm day, they're going to go to the windows. And I've heard this that, they can bang their heads on the glass and then, slowly, die off, So that's just another, thing to think about. If you don't have the experience to put your hives in the building, don't do so. But if you've had 10 years or 20 years of experience doing this, you're going to have, a good way of doing it.
Well, like I say, it's like everything else under the right conditions.
That's right. For sure. It just depends if you know it or, if you have like the skills, the knowledge to do so, but by all means, you can go ahead and, keep on with it. But if you don't have, your knowledge to do so, just don't try it. But also, anybody who hasn't, checked out Tim's channel, please do so. Vincent, can you put Tim's channel in the link to in the comments, please? Vincent will put the link, but by all means, go check him out if you haven't already.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's see. Wrap mostly for windbreak. I'm just gonna answer some.
I'm glad I don't have that problem.
Lisa said David Burns has a good video like yours, Grayson. Wrong tips. He touches on the bees trying to get out and hitting the windows. I got those tips from David Burns. I didn't put them in the exact words he put them, but I've learned a lot from that's some beekeepers will ask me, did I have a mentor in my starting beekeeping? I usually tell them, not really. I kind of studied a lot, and David Burns was actually one of the first ones I've ever started to watch, and I've been watching him for over a year or two maybe. So there you go. That's the link there if you want to go check Tim out. So that's one thing. Um,
Yeah, I'm closing in on 500. I don't know if I'll hit it before the end of the year, but getting close.
that's right. I can attest the fact that I had mites. I treated all 4 of my doubles in one nuke with 75 grams of OA and 75 grams of vegetables. They're carrying on SWED sponges for 90 days with no issues. That's per 20 frames. That's good. I'm just answering a few questions while we're on our little break.
Sure.
Like I try to pick back up on the
Carl, did you find any difference, or did one work better than the other?
Oh, you have to say that. He said that there with no issues um for 90 days with no issues. Um um I'm gonna I was gonna ask you, do you like to, your, mite treatments? Do you like to do it once a year, twice a year, or what's your, goal to
Uh,
so
no, I hit. I like to start in August, so I'll do several rounds in August,
that's right.
and then do several rounds in October, and then depending on the weather, November, December, I'll do a knockout or two treatments. But the main rounds are in August and October is when I do it. And I, like I say, I've not really seen from my counts very high mite count any other time of year. I've really not had a issue. In fact, this year, even in August when I treated, it was really a fairly low mite count. But I know better. I know from the people out here, the people in the community that you don't take that for granted.
That's right.
So I treat.
That's right. Let's get the treat. You can do it in August. Some beekeepers will do it in spring. I'll probably, do some. I was thinking about trying to do the OA next year, but I might stick with the, Apivar for the time being. Apivar is, quick and simple and easy for me to do. Then, so I'm gonna probably treat next year in the spring with the Apivar strips, and I was thinking sometimes I'm gonna try some different things next year. It's another thing that we can try to kind of get into before we wrap this thing up. Like a plan. Like plans. Like I usually try to keep a plan during the winter time. So I was gonna ask you, like, what's your goal for next year? Like, how many colonies do you want, or like what's your goal? Your plan for next year.
It depends what happens in the spring, what survives wintertime. I would like to take half my hives and be just honey production. So I'll do just a minimum number of splits based on, to keep them from swarming.
That's right.
So I'll do just what I have to keep them from swarming for honey production. And the other half, I want to make as many splits and grow my yard next year. Use those resource hives and grow the yard with the other half.
That's right.
That's my goal next year, and that's actually what I did this year. If you listen to me Friday, I made some major blunders this year. Some things just were bad luck. Other things I just dropped the ball on. So, but that's still my goal. This next year is to. And the advantage I have this year is I have more honey frames this year. This last year I didn't have any. So going into honey flow is kind of difficult when you have no frames ready to go, no comb or anything like that. It sets your bees back quite a bit. It takes them a little longer to get going. So I should be all set for next year.
Right. As you said, it also depends how much colonies you get out from winter. If like, I like to keep an open mind into it, like saying I'm not gonna come out with all 6 of my colonies. I could, I could come out with all 6 of my colonies all strong and healthy, but there's always something gonna happen during the winter. I don't really want it to happen, but it's just gonna happen sometimes. That's why
Yeah, you just don't know. You just don't know.
no. So my goal for how many colonies I really want to get out of winter is really like 4 would be my a good plan to do, and then do my 4 splits, bring back up to 8. You just really can't tell. It's just real hard to you're just gonna have to wait and see how much how much you get out, how much colonies you get, and it's like that kind of thing. You gotta keep an open mind into it. You know, also like I was saying, like goals. My goal for next year, I'd say the same thing. Usually, like maybe expand a little bit. Just a little, not too big. I don't want to make it big into it. At some point, I'll go. Like I'll make my colony numbers go up over a few years, but my goal is to get some more colonies. And I don't know what I really want to do. I probably get some use some of them for some honey, and some of them maybe to do some queen rearing. I might try some queen rearing next year. It's like my 2 goals. If it also depends how much colonies I get out. If I get out 4 colonies, I use 2 for honey production. Also have to split them. 4. You get 4 more colonies, go up to 8. Use 4 of them for honey production, 4 of them for queen ring. But I can't say that for sure because I might come out to winter with just 3 colonies and go back up to 6 with splits. So it's just you gotta wait and see what really you're gonna what you're gonna have. You can't really say, oh, I know I'm gonna get these 6 colonies out winter. You just can't say that. You just don't know.
Yeah.
It's simple as that.
Yeah, and you can't have enough honey. I mean, unless you're Bruce and Bruce's bees, you just can't. You just can't have enough honey.
That's right.
Some good stuff. Ah.
Carol says tomorrow I'll have 70s and 50s, so I'm gonna pull about 90 to 100 of capped honey off my last 2 double deeps and condense them down to singles.
Still pulling honey. Wow.
Well, it must not be too cold down there. So.
Oh, thanks, Philip.
If you didn't hear of your channel, at least if you haven't heard, checked out his channel, we put the link. Let's see, where is it? Listen can refresh it sometimes. But we're about to end anyway. It's gonna be in 3 minutes. Gonna go ahead and wrap this thing up in a second. I'm just gonna answer a few more comments and then I'm gonna get this thing, wrap it up. Let's see. I don't think I answered this one. Lisa said we also have to remember that beekeeping is very religious to climate. While we can have freezing temperatures at night, the days get up to 50s and 60s during the day in winter in lower Alabama. Definitely. It also, depends where you live. Like Ian up there, he has, probably real cold weather. He's, up there, in the cold.
Yeah, beekeeping for you is much different than say Ian.
That's right.
It's a different ball game altogether. And
That's
then
right.
we're kind of in between.
That's right. It's gonna be, it's just all different. On the on your temperature wise, region wise, it really just depends where you're located. Things. That's why another thing is if you're a starter beginner beekeeper, you can ask a local beekeeper around your area that knows what they're doing. The thing is, people will ask is how do I know that the beekeeper knows what he's doing? Well, that's a tough one, right? That you never really can tell. The thing is, you just gotta because you're a beginner beekeeper. You can't look at a beekeeper and say, oh, I don't know if he's doing good because you don't have any experience. So
Now, what I did when I first started is I searched out beekeepers in my area, YouTube channels and so forth for those in my area so I got information for my area. And then after I had that base knowledge, then I expanded out beyond that area. That's what I would suggest to anybody just starting.
That's right, definitely. DC said, "Been a great chat tonight, Grayson. I gotta head off to eat dinner." Well, we're about to wrap this thing up anyway. I mean, we just got.
What I've been doing is eating dinner while we're talking.
But I'm glad everybody was able to join us for tonight's stream. Thank you everybody for watching the stream, the live stream, and then the replay. But other than that, check out Tim's channel. We have the link in the comments. You can check it out. And then other than that, we'll see you on
I
the
appreciate you having me on here, Grayson.
for sure.
Thank you, brother, and thank you very much. Have a great evening.
You too. Thank you for joining us.